Okay, now listen up, people. I have some great live Christmas music for the first minute and a half of this video. It was beautifully played on the flutes. You're just going to have to suffer through it because it's the Christmas season, and this was fabulous. But before I get to the really fabulous chess game I've got for you, I need to show you something. Oh yeah, baby. A bowl of all-natural organic ice cream and cheesecake. That is caramel chocolate cheesecake, and this one is strawberry raspberry cheesecake, and that is organic ice cream. And the Backyard Professor is going to consume 50,000 calories of pure, absolute, blessed goodness. Oh, that is so heavenly. Yum. Chess game up in about a minute and a half. Just enjoy this Christmas music. It's beautiful. Alright, welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. I'm going to take this straight out of Alexander Aлекhine's books, My Best Games of Chess. The commentary is going to be mine, not his, thank goodness. I mean, not dang. Alright, let's get on this. Alexander Alekhine is playing Aaron Nimzovich. So this is a bittersweet game for me because I see one of my chess heroes, Aaron Nimzovich, get his chess head handed to him on a platter, and yet it's sweet because I see another one of my heroes in chess, Alexander Alekhine, handing Nimzovich his chess head on a platter. This game is exquisite for a number of reasons, but I'm going to point out one specific area that Alekhine himself talks about that is really important. It's not the typical, oh hey, fight for the center, even though Nimzovich does try to. No, this is a very specific idea. We've seen it before in other chess videos that I will talk to you about, and I will show you how Alekhine notices it and what he does with it. Again, it's an imbalance, and Alekhine goes after it exactly like Jeremy Silman says we should do. The idea is to find the imbalances that are favorable to us and go for it with those imbalances. That is how we develop a chess plan, right? So anyway, Nimzovich draws first blood, takes the central pawn. Alekhine's going to chase the bishop away, but the bishop doesn't leave. The bishop takes the knight. Now, in the vast majority of analysis, really seriously, if you're going to stick your bishop out here, or if you stick your bishop out here, the vast majority of cases, it's best just to take the knight. You are intending on taking that knight, which is hitting this square and this square. So those might be the squares that you are taking control away from white so that you can dominate them, right? So this is what Nimzovich is having in mind, apparently. Okay, so just so we understand that. And his knight will take the bishop. So the knight returns, hitting these two squares in the center. I'm pointing out the center squares. I mean, it's obvious that the knights are also touching these. If we were going to have a queenside excursion, that knight would be important for there too, right? You can see the whole umbrella area of the influence of the knight. We knew all that. We knew all that. Shut up and get on with the game, cowboy. Now, Nimzovich does this peculiar looking move for this particular opening, and here is what Alekhine has to say about it. And I quoteth, played, this pawn move is played against all the principles of a sound opening strategy, as the black colored squares of black's position will now become very weak, especially because of the exchange of his king's bishop. The correct reply, which secures black at least an even game, was supposed to be knight to queen bishop 3 instead. And then he says, and also knight to king 2, after white makes his move, knight to king 2. But that is not what Nimzovich did. He played this move as an innovation because Nimzovich had, for a couple of previous games, done this and won, and so he thought it was a pretty nice innovation. Alekhine completely quashes that idea. Here is how he does it. He also emphasizes the dark square weakness. We've heard this before. I've had this in other videos, right? But look, he's on the white squares, and these pawns can do nothing but influence white squares, and he's lost his dark square bishop. And all he has is his light squared bishop. So this is why the dark squares are going to be weak, and it is the singular imbalance that Alekhine focuses on throughout the game. That's how important it is to be able to read the chessboard. We see Alekhine doing it. Very interesting. So, pawn takes pawn, and queen takes pawn without losing tempo. The queen is now in the game, and now the queen takes the pawn here. And he says, well, no. The queen comes to king knight 3 over here now. And now, knight to king bishop 3. Queen takes the knight pawn. Now he's going to start eliminating any other pieces that can give support to the dark squares. He is justified in this early queen excursion before developing all of his pieces because the dark squares are so weak. His queen isn't even protected. His knight isn't even protected. His rook isn't even protected. Kind of amazing. I mean, this is Aaron Nimzovich. And he is already strategically completely lost. And it's only the ninth move. That's how powerful it can be, understanding how to read the chessboard and understand the idea of weak dark squares or else weak light squares if your opponent has them. This is really important. It's quite a terrific lesson here. Now, what was I lying about before I... Oh, I hope I haven't. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes pawn. Okay. King, queen to king knight 3. I did that. Knight to bishop 3. I did that. Queen takes knight pawn. I did that. And now Nimzovich comes queen to king 4 check. This is completely inconsequential, according to Alekhine. And he says, because he did this, it is absolutely fatal to the entire game. And you go, really? And Alekhine goes, oh yes. Yes. Das ist nicht gut, as the Germans would say. Das ist nicht gut. So bishop comes to king 2, bringing out another piece. I'm blocking the check. Now rook comes to knight. No, not that one. Yeah, that one. Rook to knight 1. So he's trying to put a squash on the queen. Notice Alekhine dodges and stays in the H-file. Of course, he can't go straight back. But he didn't come over here because of the queen. He can't go here, 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 here. So he goes right to there. But the queen is still in the area. Basically, the only safe square he could have moved to. That kind of makes some of us nervous. We go, whoa, yeah, I don't have any other squares to flee to. Yikes, I'd like to have more than one escape route. Doesn't bother Alekhine at all. And here's why. When the rook comes to knight 3, the queen drops down here to rook 4 now, keeping the pressure on the weak, dark squared player. Now, of course, he's got 2 supports. Yes, that doesn't bother Alekhine at all. Because notice, to protect the weak scarred piece, or the weak squared piece, takes 2 more pieces. That's not very good for Nimzovich. He's in trouble here just a little bit. Bishop comes to queen 2. Nimzovich is trying to develop. Bishop comes to king. Whoop, 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 whoop. No, not that one, you moron. This one. To queen knight 5. That looks better. That looks more like Alekhine's move. That last move would have been some chumps like mine. I got to learn from Alekhine. Look at the attack again on the weak, dark squares. Truly, seriously. This is important. This is really important. It gives him the game. So, bishop comes up to bishop 3, hitting the long diagonal, but again it's on the white squares, and Alekhine doesn't even give a flying flip about it. So what? He castles queen rook, and yeah, rook on the open file. There's no question. Now, Nimzovich, in his book, My System, and Chess Praxis, both of his books, he emphasizes the critical importance of playing on open files. But you notice only one of these players plays on open files, and it's Alekhine. And it makes the difference. By now, seriously, I have said this just doggone near every chess video I have made since I came back a month ago. That's because I'm seeing it in every cockeyed Grandmaster game that I find exciting to share with you. And so I'm hoping you're getting the point, like I hopefully am, that the proper way to play chess is through open files. That is fundamental. Really, we will see this thousands of more times as I produce that many more videos. Sincerely, this is not kidding. And now bishop takes the pawn. Big whoop. That doesn't do anything, man. King rook to king 1. So Alekhine does what Jeremy Silman says, get greedy. Get greedy. You've got 1 open file. Get 2. You've got 2 rooks. Take every open file you can. That's great chess. Seriously, that is great chess. And poor Nimzovich. He is in trouble. He brings the bishop up to king 5. Now look. This is a fundamental principle that is critical to, okay, he took the pawn. Yes, that's true. Then he brought it back into the center. As a rule, generally, power in the center really does win you chess games. Seriously, don't let this game sway you from that, even though Alekhine completely annihilated that rule in this particular instance. Okay? My suspicion is because it was Alekhine. You and me, no, we do what Nimzovich was doing as best we can, get our center strong. There's nothing else he can do. Again, the emphasis is on the weak, dark squares. Really, really amazing. And now, kablam! Alekhine brings his bishop up to the rook file, pinning the, skewering the rook basically to the king. I mean, holy cow. Wow. Now, true, the knight does take the bishop. Yeah. Holy cow. Knight's got to take the bishop. And now look. Check. What did you just see? Yeah, you know it. You got a great diagonal here. You got a fantastic open file. And you've got a guy that says, I'm going to use my open files. And look at this position, man. Check to poor Nimzovich. Holy cow. Alekhine has him completely surrounded. It's staggering. Queen takes the knight. Only after, notice how the tactic here worked. I want to emphasize this too. First, he came to deliver check. Then, once the king moves, then he retakes the piece. That way, he maintains the power on the entire 8th rank, and he's on this side too. Man, that's power chess right there. That's incredible. And king came to bishop 2, and queen takes the knight, and that's where Nimzovich resigned. And Alekhine says, rightly so, here's why. Here's why. And you're going, you know, it's the middle game. Really, you know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, there's still 5 pieces on this board each, and Nimzovich resigned. Here's why. He says, even if king goes to knight 2, and you know why he's going to knight 2, right? Because the queen's going to come up to here, and then it's over. So he pushes the king to support the pawn, right? He's still going to lose his queen, and here's why. Because the knight's going to take the bishop, not the rook, the knight. And then the pawn is going to take the knight. This time it's a knight sacrifice, not a rook sacrifice. Although Alekhine didn't matter, it didn't matter to him which piece he threw away just so he could win the game. If he had to sacrifice a queen or 2 bishops or a rook and a knight or whatever, he would. He'd throw it away. He would sacrifice it to get the position. And look at this phenomenal position, because now you go bishop rook 6. And that's what Nimzovich saw. So whatever place the king moves, which is basically right there, or there, I suppose he could move there, yeah, then he's got the queen. In fact, he should have moved there. Yeah, Alekhine. Oh, dude. That's interesting. Knight takes bishop, pawn takes knight, bishop rook 6, etc., etc. He said it would lose his queen. But if he would have, oh, Alekhine, you little devil, you. If he would have done there, then it would have been a queen swap instead. So Alekhine's trying to hide the fact that it could have been a queen swap, maybe. I don't know. I didn't look at that close enough. So let's take another look. Okay, so black just took the queen. Yeah, that is really interesting. Really, really interesting. Come to here. I've seen him do that before. That's what I'd do. And I haven't done any computer analysis on it, obviously, because I'm too big of a dope to be able to do that. Yes, I'm joking. But having open files on both sides of that king with him between two pawns can't help but be really, really nice. Right? So there's your chessercise. There's your game of the value of understanding the idea of weak square complexes. In this case, just like a previous video I just recently made, it was dark squares that were weak. You noticed how Alekhine capitalized on just that imbalance, and he won the game. And in fact, this was the shortest game Nimzovich had in his entire career. That's how powerful his weakness was, because Alekhine played against that imbalance, against Nimzovich. So this is a great lesson for us. So anyway, there is your Christmas chess video. I will be back to make some more videos, hopefully before Christmas gets here. Hopefully I can have the time to make a couple of Christmas Day chess videos too. I'm zipping through some games, and I have some real good ones that I want to share with you. I'll do that as your Christmas gift. So anyway, happy chesticizing. Be good, do well, have fun, be happy, do joyous things, forgive everybody all of their trespasses, simply because if you don't forgive people for what they've done so stupid to you in the past, it only harms you. Seriously. Easy to talk about, I know, but give it a shot. And I will see you in the next video. Don't you go away, and if you do, please do come back.